Hey guys, thanks for joining. Hope you're having a good morning, good afternoon, I guess it is. But yeah, if you can't tell, I've changed scenery a little bit. We're not going to use the screen. Typically, I'm in the living room, and believe it or not, I typically don't sit in front of our TV, facing away from our TV, so other people can see our TV. That's not our typical setup. But I just did that in order to better show you guys stuff on the screen. So we're going to go without the screen. And the reason for that is I've got my setup over here because we have Vacation Bible School coming up this upcoming week. And I've been doing a whole bunch of work for getting things ready and in order for making videos and things like that. So this is kind of like I have like a children's area over here that I have set up. This is actually kind of fun. This is a game that we made for the kids to play where I made this big old dice with different dinosaurs on different sides. You can't roll it, and if it rolls on, like this one's like run like a raptor, so they have to run like a raptor. So if you have young kids in their family, you should get them to play all the games. I think we'll probably post the game portions of VBS on. I had a moment of panic because I set it on top of this, which this is Jazz's bed. So I was like, for a second, I was like, is he under there? So he's not. He's okay. So hey, Aiden, thanks for joining. Hope you're having a good day. But today we're going to talk about something that's really interesting to talk about, which just the topic in and of itself is what makes it fun, and it's things that are polarizing. And what polarizing means is things that kind of you've heard people use the word polar opposites, right? So things that are completely different. There's hot versus cold, right? So there's two different polarizing things. So I picked a couple things to start off, not as much that are polarizing, but people's opinions of them are polarizing. So first off, I've got mayonnaise, right? Some people, you even say the word mayonnaise and they squeal, right? They just can't stand it. It's like you say mayonnaise and they're just like, ugh. The word mayonnaise doesn't bother me at all. But I just remember there was a season where people were trying to make it sound as gross as possible. So they said something like, they would use sentence like, he smothered the moist mayonnaise as he slathered it across his toast. And people are just like, oh, that sounds so gross. But I, on the other hand, I love mayonnaise. So this is actually a type of mayonnaise made out of avocado oil. Not that it bothers me either way, but the reality of it is mayonnaise is made out of the two main ingredients are oil and eggs. So traditionally it's made out of a different vegetable oil, olive oil. So this one's made out of avocado oil, right? And eggs. So those are the two main ingredients. So for some reason, most people I think that don't like mayonnaise probably use both olive oil and eggs, but you mix them together and it gives them the heebie-jeebies. So I don't know why people are so adverse to eating mayonnaise. Its ingredients are perfectly normal. So guys, in your comments later, you can comment whether you like or dislike mayonnaise. Let me know why, because I think a lot of people, it's like a mental thing. It's a texture thing. It's like the fact that it tastes, it also frequently has lemon in it. So it's like tangy and kind of, it has the consistency of pudding, except it's not a sweets item. So fun fact, childhood Richard story, growing up, well, I still like mayonnaise, but I don't do this anymore. I used to eat mayonnaise sandwiches growing up, and I think maybe this is an English thing. I don't know if we have anybody British watching our YouTube channel. Let me know is because I have never met anybody else in the United States that eats mayonnaise sandwiches, or maybe it's a generational thing because I feel like the generation before me maybe was eating mayonnaise sandwiches, and I guess I just have the spirit of an older man. I don't know. But I love mayonnaise sandwiches. So mayonnaise, for me, I love it. But the reality of it is there's lots of people that really, really hate mayonnaise, right? So the reason that's why we call mayonnaise a polarizing food, right? Because there's some people that really like it, and then there's some people that think it's absolutely disgusting. Kind of like corn. There's nobody on the planet, corn is not polarizing. Nobody on the planet is like, oh, I hate corn. It's like, it's either, corn's okay, or I like corn. There's nobody's like, corn is the worst. If I get served corn, I'm going to have to send the whole plate back. I mean, there might be a couple, but Some people, mayonnaise is totally different than that. It's like some people just can't handle mayonnaise. This one is also a big no. A lot of people for Spam. So this is another food that I like, but I also understand why people wouldn't like it, right? So for me, I love Spam. I think it's because I grew up eating it. We would cut it up and fry it in a pan and mix it in with rice, and you've got a really simple meal. I think what makes Spam such a polarizing thing is people are afraid of what they don't know, and Spam, who really knows what Spam is? That's the issue, is people don't know what Spam is. They think like, oh, is it called Spam because it's something plus ham, or like what's the ingredients, right? So people are like, we're afraid of things we don't know, we don't understand. So much like a hot dog, they think of it as like a whole bunch of meat that's just stuffed into a casing, and then you eat it, and all of a sudden people are like, oh no, I don't know what that meat is, and then it gets confusing, right? So some people don't love Spam. I understand. Carolyn and I were watching a show last night called Crazy Delicious, and it's a cooking show. It's a competitive cooking show, and one of the contestants used Spam in her recipe, and one of the judges, right? All these judges are professional cooks. But one of them, he's like this guy from a super high-end restaurant in Europe. The places where you order like $100 plate and you get something that's like that big. It's like a bite size, or, you get served the food. The food comes to you already in the spoon, and you just get a spoon of whatever food, right? And this guy was really, really struggling to think about the fact that he was about to get served Spam. The reality of it, Spam is delicious. We can argue, right? We can argue. It's an opinion, right? So that's what makes talking about things like mayonnaise and Spam fun, is because, even if we disagree, it's not going to be like a heated, like, oh, we can't be friends anymore because we disagree about it. It's just, I might like Spam, you might not like Spam, right? So it is what it is. Also, if you've ever been to Hawaii, Spam is like the national food of Hawaii. They eat tons and tons of Spam in Hawaii. My friend Doris actually went to Hawaii for the Spam Festival. They have a full-on Spam festival there, right? So one of the other things that's polarizing is spicy food, right? I love spicy food. Some people don't like spicy food. And one of the things with spicy food is if it's too spicy, you can't eat it, right? So it is possible for something to be too hot to even enjoy, right? So I'm a big fan of hot. Some people don't like hot. I put over here, these are some shishito peppers. They're one of my favorite peppers. And these are a not hot pepper. These are one of those things that, like, if you're like, I don't really like spicy food, this is probably a good one for you to try. Mr. Milling, if you watch this, you can see I've got a big old chunk of garlic stuck on this one too, because I know you love your garlic with your shishito peppers. And it's delicious. But the funny thing about shishito peppers is that it's a risk, because 1 in 10 is really hot. Sorry, I'm going to finish soon. This one was a hot one. So this time I'm like, ooh, that is hot. But I might eat 5 more in a row, and none of them are like very spicy at all. They're really mild. So it's I like it as a snack. Also, you guys know I'm a type 1 diabetic. So like if I'm watching like a basketball game or a football game, I can't exactly just dig into the chip bowl, because eventually my blood sugar will be through the roof. Shishito peppers, great snack. Actually, for my birthday, Carolyn got me a set of pepper seeds. So I brought it in here to show you. These are some, basically from the seed packet. She got me this little kit that you can plant some different seeds. One of them, unfortunately, I'm not going to get any cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper didn't sprout. But I'm going to have some habanero, and Anaheim peppers. So I'm really looking forward to the Anaheim peppers. Those are really popular for making like stuffed peppers, that you get like at a Mexican restaurant with the stuffed ground meat and cheese. So I'm looking forward to that. Actually, this is a funny note. So I've been growing these inside under some lights. So this is another polarizing thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So I know especially younger generations, we're a little more open to technology and nowadays, but a lot of people are really bothered that that we have all these new devices that listen to us and they might be listening to their conversation, right? So like I'm over here, I've got my Alexa unit over there, right? And I can potentially say stuff that it's listening and it might be recording. And, you know, people are like, well, I'm noticing the advertisements and people are really worried that Alexa's listening. And I'm kind of the opinion that I don't really mind if Alexa's listening. Like most of the information that I say is useless. So who cares, right? But the funny thing, the reason I wanted to share that with you is the lights for this show, because this room just has a little tiny light. It's not very bright. I put my lights that I've been using to grow these on like as the lights shine. So this is the other. I brought the lights over, but they're set up with a. So they're plugged into the wall, and they've got an outlet that the thing that they plug into is an Alexa enabled device. So I'm not sure if the Alexa is on, but let's see. Alexa, turn on my greenhouse. Oh, it's already on. I have to turn it off. Alexa, turn off my greenhouse. Right? So it just turned off the main spotlights, things that I have, because those are attached to this as the greenhouse. They're the little bulbs that you sit right above the light. So I have that so that I can it's actually not usually set to my voice. It's actually set to automatically mimic the sun. So it turns on 30 minutes before sunrise and ends off 30 minutes after sunrise to mimic the day. So Alexa, turn on my greenhouse. Boom. So I actually use that in one of my children's videos too. We play a game where kind of I've got stuff set up on a table like this, and we make the lights go out, and then I cover something up, and then the kids have to try to remember from the video that they're watching what was covered up. So it's a what's missing game. So that's one of those things that's polarizing. We have a friend that he is just adamant he will not allow anything like that in his home, just because he doesn't want to risk anybody hearing, anybody being able to use any of his information. And it's one of those things, it's like, I don't have a problem with it, but it's like, I'm not going to argue against him because his points are perfectly valid. Like, okay, I understand. Yeah, you might be talking to your wife or something, and she says, hey, what's my social security number again? And like all of a sudden you have a fear that maybe Amazon now has your social security number. It's a very valid fear. So I think that's a perfect example of like, yeah, that's a valid argument. I can't argue with that. But for me, it's just one of those things. Like I like the convenience of being able to do that. So we've got some, I guess I got two more things to share with you. Another thing, this is a polarizing thing, is you can't really tell. Believe it or not, I love Brussels sprouts. I know a lot of people like are kind of like, I eat vegetables, I don't eat vegetables. So this is actually kind of funny. When I started making these at maybe like 12:30 because the show was at 2. So I put these in the oven and I roasted them. And this was a full family size serving. This is a full family size serving. And because it's like, I didn't make them specifically to be served at a meal. I just made them because I was like, okay, I'm going to talk about how I love Brussels sprouts on the show and how lots of people really don't like Brussels sprouts. So then as I'm getting ready and setting up, every time I walk by the baking tray, I grab one, eat one, grab one, eat one. So this was actually, this is probably like maybe 1/3 of what I originally made, just because every time I go by, I grab one. Such a great snack. So yeah, I love the fact that you also love Brussels sprouts, Aiden. I know it's one of those things that there are a lot of people that really don't like Brussels sprouts. Like I have a friend that he just like, if you put Brussels, like there's some things like if you serve, like you can make a salad or something, make a salad, put Brussels sprouts in the salad, right? He won't eat the salad. It's just like, he can't get past it. My uncle was the same way with mushrooms, right? You put mushrooms in anything, he wouldn't eat any of it. He wouldn't eat any of it at all, right? So we've got this this polarizing thing that there's mushrooms that, some people who love mushrooms, like really love mushrooms. So mushrooms are good. Mushrooms are great. Some people hate mushrooms. I understand it. I see both sides, right? So this is one of those situations where there's two different sides. It's not one person is right, one person is wrong, but it's your personal preference, right? So Aiden, it seems like you and I have a lot of the same tastes, because I'm hearing him respond to like, oh, I love Brussels sprouts. Oh, I love mushrooms. And he's like, yeah, I also like those. So one of the funny things about Brussels sprouts in general is that the number of people that just say Brussels sprouts are okay is pretty minimum, right? There's either people like, oh, I really like Brussels sprouts, or, oh, Brussels sprouts are disgusting, right? So I'm not saying anything about oranges. They just happen to have already been on the table, so I left them there because they're pretty. But this next one, this is a big source of controversy. This is polarizing thing, or do you not like something? But this is like, do you like one thing or do you like the other thing, right? So Coke and Pepsi have been a multi-generational feud of people preferring one thing or the other. So I have a friend who was originally from Minnesota, and she actually called it blue Coke and red Coke. Like they call it, because they're both Cokes, right? It's Pepsi Coke and Coca-Cola. So it's actually called cola, right? So Pepsi Cola and Coca-Cola, right? So we've got those two. So they actually called it red Coke and blue Coke. So like, I just thought that was really interesting. They're just considered the same concept. And my family is very interesting, because this is the conversation that made me decide to do this entire conversation, is the fact that we weren't up in arms, but we were just like, thought it was interesting that even within the same family, people would have different preferences on something that is very polarizing. Because my sister and I were talking about how if we go to a restaurant so my sister and I both prefer Coke, right? So we both prefer Coke. And if we go to a restaurant and we say, can I have a Coke? And they go, is Pepsi okay? We both do that, just like obviously we're not going to be rude to the server because they don't choose what they're serving either. But it's like, okay, fine. Whereas my aunt, if she orders Coke and they say, is Pepsi okay? She's like, oh yeah, that's my preference. I would love to have a Pepsi, right? So it's one of those, it goes both ways. So here's the question is, one, you guys can in the comment, I realize not everybody drinks soda, and I actually don't drink regular soda. As a type 1 diabetic, there's no way I can justify drinking one of these, but they're over, I could eat 4 packets of fruit snacks and it would be the same amount of sugar as a Coke. So I don't really drink regular soda, but I drink Diet Coke. If you guys want to, in the comments, you can put whether you prefer Diet Coke or your Coke or Pepsi, whatever your preference is there. I'm going to have another pepper. So this next one, this is my final like polarizing. And this is the one where I feel like anybody, like I can understand, like, okay, you prefer Pepsi over Coke. Like I get that. This one, I just can't understand why anybody would prefer one over the other. And this is the debate. This is a big debate. Is it Red Vines or Twizzlers, right? This is one of those interesting things, because to me, usually I'm like, okay, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're wrong, right? In my opinion. Red Vines and Twizzlers. I just feel like Twizzlers are terrible, right? I'm like, first off, I'm not a huge candy guy. I'm more of a meat and potatoes guy, and vegetables. But if I had to pick between a Red Vine and a Twizzler, there is no question I would always choose a Red Vine, right? So I used to work with a girl. She and I worked together, and she preferred Twizzlers over red vines. And it just, like, it's one of those things, it blows my mind. It's not that, like, if you were to offer me a Twizzler, if I was in the mood for something sweet and my blood sugar was okay, I'd say, sure, yeah, I'll have a Twizzler. But if you were to say, hey, I have a red vine and a Twizzler, which one do you want? I would every single time choose the red vine. Even if the red vine was kind of stale, I would still go with the red vine over the Twizzler. To me, like, I equate eating a Twizzler to like candle wax. Okay, it's not that bad, but it's just like the fact that people prefer a Twizzler over a red vine kind of blows my mind. So it is one of those interesting things. There's a lot of things out in the world that are polarizing, right? So I'm going to take a look at a passage in Revelation really quick with you. And this is an interesting one because it talks about kind of the polarizing sides of something and how we as Christians kind of can fall into one area. So this is from Revelation chapter 3. It's a letter written to the church in Laodicea. And it says, I know your deeds, that you are neither nor. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth. Right? And it's kind of talking about how this church and this group of Christians, it was, their faith was kind of like meh, right? So it's like kind of that concept of like, where are you at your walk in your relationship with Jesus, right? And this group's response was like, well, periodically we're at church, right? They're not actively going to church. They may just like accidentally end up at church, right? And he's saying, I know your deeds, like what you were doing isn't necessarily like, it wasn't done with a desire to serve God. It wasn't done with a heart to really glorify God. It was just like, I just did it. No, like, I guess it wasn't too hard, so I might as well. And what this passage is talking about is not only what is your motivation for doing it, but how do you do it, right? So he's talking about like, I would rather you not care at all than you like just not care, but just do it kind of accidentally because it's not too hard, right? So he's saying like, what I desire from you is for you to do it wholeheartedly, for you to pursue it kind of like, I guess it's talking about our faith. I hope I don't get in any trouble for this, but I'm going to compare our faith to having Coke and Pepsi. But what God desires for me is not the attitude that I can potentially have if I go to a restaurant and order Coke and they say, is Pepsi okay? Right? God's desire for me isn't that my decision in the end was like, I guess that's okay. Right? His desire for me isn't to say, okay, fine, if that's my only option. Right? God wants me to pursue Jesus in the way that what I am getting is something that is of strong desire, that I'm passionate about, that I really want it, kind of the way that I would defend a red vine versus a Twizzler. That's what he wants, is the polarizing. He wants our lives to look polarizing to the world, right? There's passages where it talks about we are living in the world, but we are not of the world. He wants me to go out into the world and live my life kind of like I say, I'm making the argument, how can you possibly not want red vines over this? How can you possibly want to pursue just living a life of sin when there is this better option, right? There is something out there that is better for you. Whereas the Coke and the Pepsi example is more of just like, okay, fine, I'll take the other option if that's easy, if that's convenient. Whereas he wants us to say like, Jesus is my only option. And I'm passionate about that. And I want to pursue that. And I want to be a disciple. I want to devote my life to serving Jesus. Right? So I know there are some things out there that kind of we fall on opposite spectrums of. And God is saying that he wants us to go all the way onto his side. He doesn't want us to be in the middle. right? He doesn't want us to be half-hearted. He's kind of saying like, hey, if you're going to live in the middle, you might as well just reject me, right? I want you to be pursuing me wholeheartedly, authentically, 100%. I want you over on this side. I want you in my corner. I want you to desire to be with me, right? So I like the example. I brought this is my coffee cup. It says Richard's Cup on it. It actually, basically, because during quarantine, usually I drink coffee at work, so it's not that big of a deal. But I find with Carolyn and I both working from home right now, and we both drink a cup of coffee every day. If we don't reuse our cups, that's 14 cups every week that we have to wash. So I just put a sticker on mine that says Richard's Cup. So I only wash it every couple days, every couple weeks. Maybe I've washed it once or twice during quarantine. I don't know. Depends on what your cleanliness preferences are. But yeah, just so that I won't wash it every day. But I have a little tiny bit. I don't know. I don't want to accidentally pour it on the counter. I have a little tiny bit. Oh, I did pour it on the counter. Good thing I didn't have it over the oranges. But one of the things it talks about being polarizing is like hot or cold, right? It's either hot or cold. And I am of the fan, I want my coffee hot, right? Carolyn frequently will drink a cup of coffee in the afternoon and she wants iced coffee, right? But nobody wants coffee like when it's like in between, right? This is just, it's not terrible, but it's definitely not good either way. Whereas iced coffee, that would be great. Like it's kind of warm today. Iced coffee would be delicious. Hot coffee, I always love my coffee hot. That's my preference. So even when it's warm, I prefer hot coffee. Like in Egypt, it's like 100 degrees outside and humid and it's burning hot. And people everywhere are still drinking hot tea, right? Because even though it's hot outside, you drink hot tea and your body doesn't spend as much energy either warming it up because you're drinking it or cooling it down. So one of the things that God desires from us is he doesn't want us to be sitting in the middle. He doesn't want us to be ho-hum about our faith. He says, hey, you might as well just go full off and reject me if you're not going to pursue me wholeheartedly. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. I hope you guys are having a good summer. Just so you know, I'll post this and I'll send an email about this as well. We won't be having Restless next Friday because it is the 4th of July. So enjoy whatever barbecuing you're doing, spending time with your family. Enjoy that. But we'll be back the following week. And then after that, we're going to start pursuing what it might look like if we gather again together, just in small groups as a church, because we miss being together. We'd love to have you guys there. And I'm going to close this in prayer. And then I'm going to eat some more peppers and Brussels sprouts. And I hope to see you guys very soon. So if you want to bow your heads with me and we'll close. God, I thank you for today. Thank you for the opportunity to hang out. We hope we have just a season of healing in our world, Lord, where there's a lot of brokenness. And also, God, just as we talked today, that we would not take our faith lightly, that we would pursue you wholeheartedly, that we would not be stuck in the lukewarm station, but we would be really burning to really grow in our relationship with you. In your holy name I pray. Amen. I accidentally left my Nerf guns over in the other section, so shoot it out. I will see you guys soon.